What if I told you that a U.S. county is home to multiple major tourist destinations, two professional sports teams, a couple large universities, and has a population of over 3 million people? You'd think that there would be multiple metro lines, in addition to commuter rail. But the county I'm talking about, Orange County, has commuter rail. There will also be a streetcar line come spring of 2026. And that's assuming that there are no further delays that occur by the time I publish this video, or after I publish this video. I have a proposal for a metro line that would start Orange County's journey towards having a respectable metro rail system. So, let's talk about that line. The northern terminus of this proposed line would be in downtown Fullerton, at Commonwealth Avenue and Harbor Boulevard. It is a major commercial area, and an area with quite a lot of jobs. Look no further than the census data, and you'll see that there are a lot of jobs in and near downtown Fullerton. The second stop would be at Harbor Boulevard and Orangethorpe Avenue. This stop would serve a couple of malls and a lot of parking lots. Speaking of malls, since the mall is apparently a dying breed, perhaps the malls, or at least parts of their parking lots, can be useful for some transit-oriented development at some point. Better that than unused asphalt. The following stop would be at Harbor Boulevard and La Palma Avenue. This stop would offer a connection to Octa's Route 38, one of the more frequent bus routes. Furthermore, there are some census tracts more than densely populated enough to justify the stop at this location, including a census tract with over 17,000 people per square mile. The next stop is a biggie. It's the downtown Anaheim stop. Given that high rises in downtown Anaheim are centered around the Center Street Promenade, I'd have the stop located closest to there. But I'd also have an exit for this stop at Lincoln Avenue, given that there is an east-west bus route on Lincoln. The following stop is also a biggie, for it to stop at Disneyland. Per Disney, over 36,000 people work at Disneyland. If just 10% of Disneyland employees took this train line, the employees, plus all the tourists, could result in one of the busiest stations in my Orange County train system. Continuing the theme of important stops, there'd be a stop named for the Anaheim Convention Center at Harbor Boulevard and Catella Avenue. It's also worth noting the high quantity of hotels in this area. Providing good transit access to hotel patrons could potentially allow them to explore parts of Orange County beyond Disneyland and the Convention Center. After this stop, the train then runs along Catella Avenue for a little bit, and then have a stop at Catella Avenue and Anaheim Boulevard. A lot of what's around here is hotels, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. What this means is that people can take the train between hotels and either the Convention Center or Disneyland. This stop would offer a transfer with Octa's Route 47. The following stop is another big one. And it's not just big because of the long name, the Anaheim Regional Transportation Intermodal Center. I will just call it Arctic from here on out. Arctic would be big partially because of all the transit connections. Additionally, it's an important stop because it's the stop closest to Anaheim's two professional sports franchises, the Ducks of the National Hockey League and the Angels of Major League Baseball. I should also add that before Arctic, the proposed train line would get off of Catella Avenue and follow the path of trackage by Arctic until it gets to Main Street. The train would then turn onto Main Street in Orange, the city of Orange, that is. The first stop on Main Street would be at Chapman Avenue. It would connect to Octa's Line 54, and this is the closest the route would get to downtown Orange. The following stop would be at Main Street and Lavetta Avenue. The density of jobs in this area is immense, which is perhaps not a surprise given the image you see here. Among other things, this is where the flagship hospital for the Children's Hospital of Orange County is located. On the other side of the Garden Grove Freeway, I'd have a stop near Main Place Mall. It might seem slightly dubious to have a stop for a mall, given that many malls seem to be struggling these days. However, as you can see on Google Earth here, it's not just the mall that's around this area. We then get past the 5, and beyond the 5, there'd be a stop at 17th Street. While this Google Street View image of 17th Street doesn't look particularly impressive, this is actually right in the midst of some of the densest part of Orange County. The two census tracts by this stop have population densities well over 30,000 people per square mile. The next stop would be at 10th Street, at which point we're getting into downtown Santa Ana. I then have a stop at 5th Street. Why 5th Street? Because a stop there would be sandwiched in between the westbound OC streetcar that would travel along Santa Ana Boulevard and the eastbound OC streetcar that would travel along 4th Street. Having a stop sandwiched between the eastbound and westbound OC streetcar stops would allow for easy transfers to and from the OC streetcar. There'd then be a stop at 1st Street. The stop would offer connections to Octoroutes 55 and 64. It is also by this point that we're exiting downtown Santa Ana. The next 3 stops would be at McFadden Avenue, Edgar Avenue, and Warner Avenue. I clustered these 3 stops together in this video because all 3 share a lot of similar circumstances. With land use that isn't that impressive on the surface, yet are in densely populated census tracts. Most census tracts in this area have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000 people to 20,000 people per square mile. Then, when the train line gets to MacArthur Boulevard, the train line turns onto MacArthur. The first stop on MacArthur Boulevard would be at MacArthur Place. Very confusing, I know. I'd probably just name the stop MacArthur, or something like that. There are a lot of office buildings in the area that this stop would serve. And then, there'd be a stop at MacArthur Boulevard and Main Street. It's at the edge of some more higher-rise office buildings, not to mention a part of an area with extremely high job density. How high? There's an area by this proposed stop with over 39,000 jobs per square mile, per the census. And then, we get to yet another big stop, John Wayne Airport. In this fantasy transit world, the days of Okta only providing a singular, once-an-hour bus service to the airport would be obsolete. Continuing along MacArthur Boulevard, I'd then have a stop at Jamboree Road. There are a number of office buildings and a fair number of employees this stop would serve, including some Google offices. This also falls into an area of rather high job density. The last turn of this route is a turn onto Bison Avenue, which eventually turns into Michael Drake Drive. The next to last stop is at the UCI Research Park, a park where there's a nearby block that has, 8,000 jobs or so all by itself, and another nearby block with about 2,700 jobs, per census data. This stop would provide a lot of people with high-quality access to a lot of jobs. And the last stop, but certainly not the least stop, is by Aldrich Park at UC Irvine. I did a lot of thinking about where to place stops at the UC Irvine campus, only to realize that I was really overthinking it. I then realized that, in a dream world, somewhere by Aldrich Park seems like a great place to put a stop. Why? Because Aldrich Park is so close to so much of the important stuff on that campus. But if any current or former UC Irvine students or any faculty or staff at UC Irvine have other opinions on where a UC Irvine rail stop should exist, I'd love to hear those opinions in the comment section below. Speaking of opinions, I should go into my own opinions on this proposed line of mine, as well as walk through possible critiques of this line. One critique I anticipate is the "why didn't you put this line at this place or that place" question. A few places I could see being brought up for this critique are the South Coast Metro part of Costa Mesa and Santa Ana College, and frankly, a lot of Irvine. And unless you're proposing rail transit for a place I'm not thinking of, there's a good chance that part of my answer will be because I have an idea for a different rail line in that area. The fact is that we're dealing with a county with a population of about 3 million people. And with a population that large, especially when that large population is in a place as sprawly as Orange County, you're not going to serve all areas with one rail line. This is going to take multiple rail lines. A follow-up question, especially from those familiar with Orange County transit history, might be this. Why not just build a duplicate of the Centerline proposal from the turn of the millennium? The reason is that I have two big problems with the old Centerline proposal. One of them was that, from maps I see, it didn't connect to John Wayne Airport. A critical mistake if you're really trying to drive ridership. Considering that the airport is important for a lot of Disneyland and Anaheim Convention Center people, having an Orange County Metro line that doesn't connect to the airport is very much flawed, in my transit map developer opinion. And the other one was that it didn't connect to UC Irvine. No offense to other parts of Irvine, but I think that connecting to the university is particularly important. And if you're going to connect to the airport, as my proposed line does, you may as well go the rest of the way to the university, since the airport is relatively close to the university. On the flip side, one thing the Centerline proposal does that I don't do is connecting to the South Coast Metro area. I plan to make that connection with a different train line proposal I have in mind, but any train line proposal that connects to South Coast Metro is off to a good start nevertheless. But also, my proposal is for a world where there is money to build multiple train lines. Like, if I was told that Orange County could only get one rail line beyond the OC streetcar, perhaps I'd see if the South Coast Metro could be served on this route, for example. But even if my line were the only one built, it would contain some non-negotiables for any Orange County-based Metro line. Those non-negotiables include, but are not limited to, connecting Disneyland to John Wayne Airport, connecting the Anaheim Convention Center to John Wayne Airport, connecting UC Irvine into the system, connecting downtown Santa Ana into the system, and last, connecting Arctic and Angel Stadium into the system. Sure, there are some non-negotiables missing. For example, I think that Cal State Fullerton and Santa Ana College should absolutely be served by this system, especially the college. I found Octadata from about a decade ago saying that a bus stop at the college is the highest ridership stop in their entire system. More of the aforementioned Irvine and South Coast Metro should also be included on the system. So there's a lot of business that would still need to be done for Orange County to have a respectable metro rail system, even if this line of mine were built. But the point of this line, if it came to fruition in real life, is to get some of that serious business done. And get that business done in a manner much more efficient than my original proposal for the area. A ridiculously long and extremely flawed sea line extension that didn't serve much in the way of employment centers or densely populated neighborhoods between Norwalk and Fullerton. Enough about my thoughts, though. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this proposed line in the comment section below. Make sure to also leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content on imagining better mass transit in the United States. Thank you and have a good day.